She has a picture.
Can you
They
wait?
won't be able to hear me.
Can you wait 2 minutes?
I have to have a lid.
Start? Start. Joni says start.
Me to turn it off.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the Wednesday, October 23rd, 2019, the City of West Hollywood Disability Advisory Board special meeting. Mr. Delfino Aguilar, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to item 1B, roll call. Kim, may we please have a roll call?
Sure. Councilmember Doré? Here. Councilmember Freiberg? Here. Sorry. How about advisory board member? Thank you. Friedman, you've all been promoted. Board member Nash?
Here.
Board member Smith?
Here.
Board member Watts?
Here.
Vice Chair Simonko?
Here.
And Chair Hang.
Aye.
Thanks.
Moving on to item 1C, approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Can we get a roll call, please?
Board Member Duré,
Aye.
Board Member Freiberg. Aye. Board Member Friedman,
Aye.
Board Member Nash,
Aye.
Board Member Smith,
Aye.
Board Member Watts,
Aye.
Vice Chair Simonko,
Aye.
Chair Hang.
Aye.
Agenda is approved.
Thank you. Moving on to item 1D, public comment. The Disabilities Advisory Board values your comments. However, pursuant to the Brown Act, the Advisory Board cannot take action on items not listed on the posted agenda. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. This public comment period is to address the Advisory Board on consent calendar items, other agenda items, or items of general interest within the jurisdiction of the Advisory Board. I believe we have a few speakers in the house tonight. I'd first like to welcome Mr. Michael Arrigo from the City of Los Angeles.
He's stuck.
Good evening, Disability Advisory Board members. Thank you, and sorry about that. That's what happens when your last name begins with an A. I was always first. First of all, I'd like to thank you, board members, for all the hard work that you do throughout the year, and congratulations to all of the awardees. And although October is Disabilities Awareness Month, let's not forget the other 11 months of the year for awareness, for people especially with partial disabilities, people with not so blatant in your face of a disability. Those are the individuals who quite often get misunderstood and confused by others. So if we walk up to that person and get to know that individual, we would understand a partial disability. For example, the person that may not see you wave at them from across the street, or a person who is hard of hearing may not hear you yell at them from across the street. So they're not arrogant or they're not snobby. They just may have a partial disability. So the people, it's important to communicate to others so people have a better understanding of what a partial disability is. Because when I was younger, I thought blind meant black, no, nothing. And being partially sighted, I'm one of those people that quite often get misunderstood. So thank you again for all the hard work that you do every year. Good to see you guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to welcome up to the podium Mr. Zachary Gajcek. He's from Supervisor Sheila Kuhl's office.
Good evening, board members. My name is Zachary Gajcek, and I'm the West Hollywood Field Deputy for LA County Supervisor Sheila Kuhl of the 3rd District. It's my pleasure to be here today on behalf of the Supervisor Kuhl to honor the many accomplishments and contribution of tonight's disability advocates and celebrate their work in making Los Angeles County a more accessible and accountable place for individuals to live and celebrate. As many of us know, this month marks the 29th anniversary of the Americans with Disability Act, a groundbreaking piece of federal legislation that has paved the way towards compelling our communities nationwide to build and modify our communities nationwide to be built and modified with accessibility needs of all community members in mind. As we all know today, access for anyone is access for everyone. And so, to show our appreciation, it is my pleasure, on behalf of Supervisor Kuhl, to provide these scrolls and congratulate tonight's honorees for their numerous contributions to the people of Los Angeles County. Very much.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to welcome up the wonderful Miss Stephanie Harker from the City of West Hollywood.
Good evening, my favorite board members. I just wanted to say tonight how proud I am of all of you and how thankful I am that you do what you do all year round. I don't know if everybody knows just how much you guys do. You know, oh, it's a board, it's not a commission, or, you know, whatever. But you really do. And I'd like to congratulate the recipients tonight. And I wanted to also, I'm sure I've stated this before at one of these meetings, but I feel like all of you really, it's a George Washington Carver quote, and I think that all of you live your lives this way, and you have a grateful community. He said, "Resolved to be tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, and tolerant of the weak and the wrong. For some time in your life, you will have been all of these." Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to welcome Mr. Larry Block.
Hi, everybody. Larry Block, West Hollywood. I always get so touched and moved when I'm around this board. Is honored to have served with all of you and been at these and chaired the board. And you guys, all of the taught me a lot. You know, taught me how to move forward, taught me how to live with my disability. I'm partially sighted, and sometimes people don't realize that. You can't see your faces, but, you know, we move forward and learning on the board of, you know, not being my disability, but my ability, as Yola always says. and really helped me step up and just, move away from that transition period where you learn how to live with a disability, and to have a commission to be able to serve on and work with, and as part of the city to know that our rights are protected means so much to so many. I'm on a Public Facilities Commission. I'd like to put that hat on for a second, invite you all to the November 13th meeting of the start of our City Green Award programs. We will develop the criteria to be able to award a resident or an organization or a business for their work in green and sustainability, and your input is really welcome. So that's November 13th at 6 p.m. at the City Council chamber. And I don't know if I have any seconds left, but I'll take an extra 30 seconds if a chair will allow me. This year I founded a nonprofit. It's called WehoWish.org. Some of you have donated to it. We are in our nomination period for wishes. And so if you know somebody down the hall, a resident in need, please make a wish on their behalf. www.wehowish.org. It's a nonprofit that some local businesses and local residents have helped us support. And we've only had one wish so far, and it's an exciting wish. We're about to grant it, working hand in hand with the West Hollywood Housing Corporation to grant wishes to low-income or transition or homeless people who are moving into any West Hollywood Housing Corporation unit, that they get the unit, but they don't get any furniture in there. So working together, we've agreed to support new residents who qualify for a West Hollywood Housing Corporation unit with a $500 donation to welcome them to West Hollywood. And that's supported by local residents and local businesses. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to item 2, consent calendar. Do we have any changes to the minutes? Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Board Member Smith and Board Member Doré, seconded by Board Member Friedman. Can I get a roll call, please?
Sure. Board Member Duray,
Aye.
Board Member Freiberg. Aye. Board Member Friedman,
Aye.
Board Member Nash,
Aye.
Board Member Smith,
Aye.
Board Member Watts,
Aye.
Vice Chair Simonko,
Aye.
Chair Hang.
Aye.
It's approved.
Moving on to item number 3, new business. Before we move into the awards portion of the evening, I want to talk about the Disabilities Advisory Board's achievements in the last year. This past year has been a very active and productive year for the Disabilities Advisory Board. The board hosted the Disabilities Resource Fair last Thursday, and we had a wonderful turnout. Over 100 participants came out to get resources for people living with disabilities, enroll in public benefits, obtain legal advice, and learn about emergency preparedness. Cedars-Sinai Medical Center also provided over 50 flu shots to our community members. In August, we held an outreach event at National Night Out, where we tabled at the West Hollywood Gateway and talked to many community members about the social services programs. We provided valuable input to the Human Services Commission during the recent funding process and advocated for more programming to address food insecurity among people with disabilities in the city of West Hollywood. It's been a very busy year, and I want to thank each of the board members for their important contributions and the City Council for its ongoing support for our endeavors. Moving on to item A, the Disabilities Service Board presentations. Now we're moving into what you've all been waiting for, the 2019 Disabilities Service Award presentations. The first presentation of the awards portion of our meeting will be a special recognition of advocate and former Disabilities Advisory Board member, Mr. Jim Chudd, who passed away recently. Board members Rick Watts and Louise Smith will share a few words and present the posthumous award to his friend, Catherine Friedman.
I just wanted to mention the first time I met Jim was when I had been recently appointed to this board in 2013. And Jim approached me very quickly and asked everything about me that you could possibly ask. And he was so welcoming. He's been a member of this board, and he's also served as chair and vice chair. He also was a tireless advocate for the disabled, and he also was CEO and founder of the nonprofit organization named Disabilities that worked to improve the lives of disabled elders. He was a long-term survivor of HIV and suffered many musculoskeletal problems as a result of experimental treatment administered in the early days of the epidemic. This treatment was administered at NIH, and he was a real pioneer. His willingness to participate in this treatment came with great cost to his body. His sacrifice helped pave the way to the life-saving antiviral drugs we have today. We all have a lot to thank Jim for, and we're extremely pleased to honor him tonight. And Rick has a few words.
Thank you, Louise. Like Board Member Smith, Jim Chudd and I have known each other for a good number of years, although my first encounters with Jim was when he was appointed to the Disabilities Advisory Board. As Board Member Smith mentioned, Jim is a long-term, perhaps one of the longest-term members or survivors of HIV in this city. Lest it be forgotten, the AIDS epidemic, from the time that it first reared its head, has taken over 10,000 lives just in the city of West Hollywood. Now that's the equivalent of approximately a third of our current population. And many times that within the city of Los Angeles, or the city and county of Los Angeles, and the state of California, and more than 500,000 in this country. That's more than all that were killed in World War II, and some 35 million worldwide. Jim's sacrifices, in terms of, Jim literally gave his body to research in that study that did so much damage to his own body, but in doing so, he really helped pave the way for those of us who continue to live with HIV. And I too count myself as a beneficiary of his sacrifices. To those of you who may know Jim, Jim was not one to suffer fools or foolishness. And when Jim saw something that he thought needed improvement, he did not hesitate to speak up. And if he saw something that was wrong, he didn't hesitate to denounce it. But the words that come to mind most about Jim are endurance, hope, change, and life. Now, I've already gone over a little bit of what Jim endured, and he used to joke about how before he went through what he went through with that clinical trials, that he used to be well over 6 feet high, tall, and a big strapping bodybuilder, Yale-trained architect, and yet despite having almost died on multiple occasions due to that trial and his own experiences with AIDS itself, Jim endured, and he endured in part not only because he didn't want to give up his own life, but because he saw a need to create hope, and that depended upon his being around to create change. And Jim did that. For the next 30-odd years, he did his best to create change. And through that, he gave hope to those of us who remain with HIV and to those with many other types of disabilities, both visible and not so visible, to give us courage in dealing with what we have to deal with in life. And in doing so, Jim made a real difference in the lives of those in our community who continue to live with disabilities and those who will do so down the line and be beneficiaries of the work that he did over his 2 short years. And with that, Board Member Smith and I would like to introduce Jim's friend, Catherine Friedman, to the podium to accept an award on his behalf. Catherine has known Jim for many years, and Catherine is the Executive Director of Project Chicken Soup, for which Jim was not only a fervent spokesperson, but also a beneficiary. This organization, Project Chicken Soup, has served the city of West Hollywood for more than 30 years, bringing food to persons who were shut in, unable to come out or to prepare their own meals at home, helping to keep body and soul together. And in doing so, Project Chicken Soup has saved many, many lives just in this community. Originally founded to serve persons dealing with HIV and AIDS, in 2011, Project Chicken Soup expanded its mission to also serve persons with other debilitating illnesses. Jim was very proud of this organization and, again, a big advocate for Project Chicken Soup. And so with that, I'd like to welcome Catherine Friedman to the podium.
Hello. First, I want to thank the board for the work that you do throughout the year. I'm so grateful that the board is recognizing Jim Chudd tonight. I'm really saddened that Jim couldn't be here to accept this award himself, but I'm honored to accept the award on his behalf. Jim was an extraordinary human being. He was smart. He had integrity. He was kind, and he was generous. He dedicated decades of his life working to improve the lives of people living with HIV, seniors, and people with disabilities. The world was a better place with Jim Chudd in it. Thank you.
Next, please welcome the Honorable Mayor John D'Amico and Board Member Yola Duray to the podium to present the Love D. Brighton Differently Able Individual Award.
Good evening. I'm going to let Yola speak first. Or am I supposed to speak first? Let's do it together.
Okay.
Do you want me to?
There. This is perfect. I'm so pleased the mayor's presenting with me because otherwise I couldn't do this. So.
And I was going to say the same thing.
There is your mayor and my mayor, Mayor John D'Amico.
Thank you very much. So, the City of West Hollywood and its Disability Advisory Board are proud to present the 2019 Love D. Brighton Differently Abled Individual Award to Fred Goodman. Mr. Goodman has been serving West Hollywood as the head pharmacist of Capital Drugs for 12 years. Fred provides a level of service that can only be received from a pharmacist working in a small neighborhood pharmacy. And a point of personal privilege, Fred is my pharmacist, and yours too. And I certainly appreciate the kind of extraordinary generosity and loving care that Fred takes every time I have a prescription filled and need something from my local pharmacy. Yola?
First of all, I want to say that Fred Goodman is the type person that puts my personal quote to bed. Because I used to say, the best prescription I've ever known is opportunity. So tonight, I'd like to amend that and say the best prescription and pharmacist I've ever known tonight is Fred Goodman. He is the quincentennial neighborhood pharmacy who is dedicated to the people he serves to the extent he never turns his back on anyone. He's always there for his patients. But you know what's even more amazing? The name of this award is the Loveday Bryden Differently Abled Award. And actually, Fred Goodman was Loveday's pharmacist a number of years back. So I think this makes it even more so that he should be receiving this award tonight. Also, I want to share with you a little tidbit that I'm sure both our mayor and board member Nash know, but toward the end of this month, Capital Drugs, which is our major neighborhood pharmacy and a WeHo institution, is having what they call Sample Saturday. So I sincerely hope that everyone here will go visit Fred and Capital Drugs and really appreciate them for what we know they're worth. So now, without further ado, I'd ask Mr. Fred Goodman to approach the podium to receive his much award. Thank you. The mayor.
Oh, thank you very much. Mr. Mayor.
Here, please say a few words. Or a lot of words.
Well, I don't know if I can live up to that. But, oh, dear, you may need to stay here and support me. I do want to thank the advisory board for this very nice honor, and Mr. Nash for his nomination. I want to thank my professional family at Capital Drugs, starting with Ruth, who gave me a job, and my current manager, owner, Raj, who kept me on so I could keep a job and let me practice pharmacy to keep it as a right and not a privilege. And that seems to be lost these days in the current medical type of insurance and so forth. I wanted to personally thank my personal family, my partner of 27 years. I think he probably didn't think it was going to be this easy. And my special guest, my grandson, Noah. Back in the 90s when I was at Mickey's and Rage, I didn't think in my 60s I'd have a grandson and granddaughter. And finally, I want to thank the community of West Hollywood for supporting our pharmacy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Again.
Next, I'd like to welcome the Honorable Councilmember John Heilman and board members Joy Friedberg and Mikey Friedman presenting the Business Award.
Thank you all, and thank you for being here. And I think you were my pharmacist as well. So, but now I'm non-compliant. I don't take my drugs anymore. My great pleasure to be here to present the Business Award to Ambiance Transportation. The City of West Hollywood and its Disabilities Advisory Board we're proud to present the 2019 Disability Service Award for a business to Ambiance Transportation. Ambiance provides medical, non-medical, and paratransit transportation services in Southern California. They operate a fleet of over 60 vehicles and employ a force of more than 80 vehicle operators and attendants.
In 2018, Ambiance partnered with the City of West Hollywood to provide on-call transportation services for older adults and for people with disabilities in West Hollywood. The new program was successfully launched on January 1st, 2019, and is intended to complement the city's other transportation programs.
Ambiance Transportation provides trips on short notice, weekends, evening hours, and to destinations outside the areas served by the city's other transportation programs. The on-call transportation program currently provides over 2,000 trips per month and serves over 400 West Hollywood seniors and residents with disabilities. Accepting the award today is Ryan Ferreira, CEO of Ambiance Transportation.
Thank you very much to the board and also to Board Member Nash for nominating us. It's been a joy to serve the West Hollywood community, and it is an honor to accept this on behalf of the Ambience team. We relish the opportunity, and thank you very much.
Sorry.
The next award of the evening is the Nonprofit Award. The Honorable Councilmember Lauren Meister and Board Member David Nash will be presenting the award. Please welcome them to the podium.
Hi, Lauren. Hi. Hello, everyone. First, I want to congratulate all the awardees, and I want to thank this board and staff for all you do all year round. And I think we should give you a hand. I'm also going to just go off script for a second and let you know that at, I think it was our last council meeting or the one before, Hart Park, which is a very popular dog park in the city, a lease was signed, so that means that we'll be able to go forward with some renovations. So I just want to put that on your radar, since one of the things that we've been advocating for, at least, many of us in the community, is for that park to be ADA compliant. And one of your former board members, Michael Vojkolevich, was a very strong advocate for that as well. So I just hope that's on your radar. And I also want to just tell you how I met David Nash. David Nash, and this was probably back in the early 2000s, used to come to council meetings, and I was in the audience watching, and he would talk about the Palmview project, and he would let everyone know what was going on there, and just make us all aware of how important it is that the services that are provided really serve that community at the Palmview. And so I just want to thank David for all of his advocacy, because otherwise, you know, we wouldn't know what is going on. And so I think it's really great. And thank you, David.
Thank you.
And I remember Council Member Sal Guariello used to be in there making sure that what you asked for got done. So the City of West Hollywood and the Disabilities Advisory Board are very proud to present the 2019 Disability Service Award for a nonprofit to the Actors Fund. Founded in 1882, the Actors Fund is a national human services organization that meets the needs of the entertainment community and has an understanding of the unique challenges involved in a life in the arts. The fund's programs include social services and emergency financial assistance, housing, health care, senior care, and employment services. The HIV/AIDS initiative employs social workers to create confidential, holistic plans and support systems that meet clients' emotional, medical, and financial needs. With offices in New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago, the Actors Fund is a safety net for those in need. David?
Thank you. I don't really need my script because I've had the pleasure of living under the care of the Actors Fund for more than 20 years, but specifically 20 years at our wonderful building, Palmview. Palmview has 39 units of affordable housing for people living with HIV/AIDS, and recently has expanded the criteria to include people with any disabilities. In particular, this year, our 20th year, the Actors Fund is spending more than $5 million to renovate the building and bring it up to ADA compliance. Yeah. They've had a long partnership with the city and have in so many ways been supportive of the community that lives up at Palmview. And I want to thank them so much for the money, the time, and the years of service that they provided to our community. Here to accept the award tonight, the 2019 award for a nonprofit organization, is the Executive Director of the Western Region, Mr. Keith McNutt.
Hi, everyone. On behalf of the chair of our Western Council, David Rambo, the chair of our national board, Brian Stokes-Mitchell, I want to thank everybody on the board for this recognition. This is really meaningful to us for many reasons. Last year, just to give you an example, we helped about 600 people with disabilities across the country, 300 of those here in Los Angeles. We provide financial assistance for people's rent, utilities, doctor bills, things like that. Last year, $258,000 nationally, $128,000 right here in Los Angeles. Serving people with HIV and full-blown AIDS, $617,000 nationally, $100,000 of that here in Los Angeles. So we are very committed to working with this community, as well as with the entire performing arts and entertainment community. And we have 2 buildings that serve the needs of people with disabilities. One in Manhattan, which is 178 apartments, a third of which go to people with HIV, a third of which go to people with disabilities and seniors. And then, of course, the beautiful Palmview building, which is about to get more beautiful. We're very excited about the acquisition. You might be interested to know that of the $5.2 or $5.3 million that this renovation is going to cost, about $1.5 million of that is to upgrade to ADA standards and energy efficiency standards. So it's a deep commitment. I hope it's a commitment that all buildings and developments share, especially more as we build more housing, that we build it with the intention of making it accessible to everyone. And I guess as I was thinking about this award, the most important word that kept coming to mind is listening, because the key to providing meaningful services and empathy and care to any population that you don't necessarily belong to in the moment is listening to them first. And David has been a real partner in this building for as long as I've been out here, since 2006. And it's been our obligation, our duty, our inspiration, and our pleasure to listen to the residents, to try to make this housing what it really needs to be and deserves to be for the people that live here. So we thank the City of West Hollywood for their 20-plus year partnership in making this happen. We're very excited taking on the ownership in 2018 and this new project this year, which will open about 6 or 7 months from now. So thank you very much.
Next on the agenda is the Media Award. The Honorable Councilmember John Duran, Vice Chair Simonko, and I will present the award. But before we do so, we'd like to show you the news segments that inspired many of us here on the board. Technical difficulties.
Live from the Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, this is KCAL 9 News at 9.
Welcome to KCAL 9 News at 9 and streaming on CBSN Los Angeles. I'm Juan Fernandez. A studio production vocational center is making a difference in the lives of young adults with developmental disabilities. They'll be here tomorrow for Stephanie's Day. It's a resource fair for families impacted by autism and other special needs. A 7-year-old girl is gearing up for baseball's biggest stage. Haley Dawson will throw out the first pitch at Game 4 of the World Series, and she'll do it with the help of a hand made by a 3D printer. KCAL 9's Carter Evans spoke with Haley as she prepares to take the mound. 9 months after losing both her legs in a horse riding accident, a young woman is walking again. Clarice Sykes was back at Riverside Community Hospital today to thank the doctors, nurses, and first responders who saved her life. She was riding last July in Jurupa Valley when her horse got spooked and threw her off the horse. The 23-year-old lost her left leg on impact. Her right leg was crushed, but eventually had to be amputated because of the infection. Sykes learned how to walk again with prosthetic legs during her recovery. Today, she got a new pair she can control with her mobile phone. Unfortunately, her horse did not survive. 2 studies out today point to significant progress in helping paralyzed people stand and take steps. A new treatment may provide new hope for the nearly 1.3 million Americans who have paralysis from spinal cord injuries.
It takes so much concentration that I don't get emotional about it in the moment.
They're able to walk independently. It's not the same as before their injury, but it's a significant level of recovery.
I've definitely made a lot of progress, but I do live alone and able to live independently.
Doctors used to believe that the nerves involved in paralysis were simply dead, but the experiments prove that some nerve cells do survive, and they're enough to help some people walk again. We got a sneak peek today at the performance we'll see next month at Stephanie's Day, a resource fair for families dealing with autism and other special needs. The group Miracle Project is behind this musical, written and performed by people with autism as well as those who aren't on the spectrum.
This might be the first place where they can really shine. I've seen some of the actors grow from being so shy they couldn't even walk into a room to now they're on the second season of Netflix.
They have no limits. It's really all about that everything that we really know about autism is a bunch of myths that they don't have a sense of humor. That's not true. They are some of the funniest people that I know.
The show is this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday over at the Wallace Annenberg Center for the Performing Arts in Beverly Hills. Feeling the Beat, new technology developed in England, is helping deaf people enjoy music. KCAL 9's Ian Lee shows us how it works.
These twin sisters enjoy dancing to music, even though they can't hear it.
I feel as though the deaf community think, oh, what's the point in going to a nightclub if they can't hear the music?
The deaf fashion bloggers can now feel the beat thanks to these high-tech threads called the Sound Shirt. It's made by a company called Cute Circuit.
In Health Watch today, a nationwide study is going on right now looking at the DNA of people with autism. And researchers at UCLA are making sure minorities are included in that study.
Good evening. I'm Councilmember John Duran, and I want to first of all thank the board for all the work that you do on behalf of people with disabilities within our community. And I'm really pleased to give this award to Juan Fernandez, because anytime we recognize a Latino or a person of color, I'm all in, as the only Latino or person of color to ever serve on the city council here. Juan, and I want to give a special tribute to the work you're doing with people with autism, because my nephew David is autistic, and he is a treasure in my family, and I really appreciate all the attention that you brought to that particular issue. The City of West Hollywood and its Disabilities Advisory Board are pleased to honor Juan Fernandez with the 2019 Disability Service Award for Media. This year marks Emmy Award-winning anchor Juan Fernandez's 23rd year with the CBS News family. He joined CBS 2 News in 1996 as a general assignment reporter. Over the years, he's covered some of the biggest stories in the Southland. He currently anchors on KCAL News at 4 and 9 p.m.
Juan Fernandez is fluent in Spanish. Sorry, thank you. I thought it would be low enough. Juan Fernandez is fluent in Spanish. He is an important advocate. He's an advocate on the importance of learning more than one language and a champion for literacy. Among his community projects, he especially enjoys mentoring students who are pursuing careers in broadcasting. And without someone like him in the broadcasting industry, the disabled community probably wouldn't be aware of the many new innovations that happen within the community.
Juan Fernandez has reported on a variety of disability topics that have not only educated the general public, but further brought important issues to the forefront with regard to the treatment and understanding of conditions. One disability in particular is autism. Juan and the CBS 2 and KCAL 9 News family have constantly reported on the latest medical research and treatment for autism in both children and adults. They have also helped to raise countless sums of money for autism charities to help fund continued research. As a news anchor, Juan has also reported on many other disabilities that include cancer, HIV, AIDS, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's disease. Please welcome Mr. Juan Fernandez to the podium to accept the Media Award.
Board members, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here and to receive this award tonight. Foremost, it's because I'm receiving it because it's doing what I love to do, which is to tell stories. When I first started in this business, a lot of people said, why do you want to go into the news business? There's so much sad news in the news business. And I said, well, I want to tell people's stories. I want to educate. And the more I was in the business, the longer I was in the business, I realized that words had power to educate, it had power to inspire, and power to change people's minds, including our own in the news business. When I first started 30 plus years ago, there really weren't many stories about people with disabilities, either seen or unseen. News was very cut and dry, and over the years, it's so nice to see how things have changed, where a story about a disability has gone from maybe just one minor element in a health segment to an entire block, what we call a block on TV news, which is quite a chunk. And of course, there are many families out there that are dealing with family members who have disabilities who may not have the information or the education to help back them up. So I think with our stories, what makes us so proud at CBS2 and KCAL 9 News is by putting those stories out there, we give families hope that there is a community out there of like-minded people who are there to support them, to lift them up in some of the more darker days. But also for us, it's so important that we are continuing to do this and that people come to us with story ideas and whatnot. So I'm really glad to be here tonight. I'm so glad that we can continue this this venture on TV, on radio, now on social media, because the more we put those stories out there, the more that people get educated, and the more that a disability really becomes just an ability of some sort, right? Where it really doesn't stop anyone, where it's just part of another member of our community. So thank you all. Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here tonight. Thank you.
That concludes the awards portion of our agenda. Please give all the honorees a big round of applause for their service and dedication to this community. We have plenty more to discuss, so I hope you can all stay for the next items on the agenda. Moving on to item number 4, unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? No? Moving on to item number 5, excluded consent. Anything pulled? No? Moving, item number 6, items from staff.
Good evening. First of all, congratulations to all of the Service Award honorees, and congratulations to the board for a most productive year, with special thanks to last year's Chair Friedman and Vice Chair Freiberg for their leadership. The year was full of interesting meeting topics and presentations. The board gave important input on community projects and educated and linked community members to services and resources for people with disabilities. Thank you to all of you for your work, and I'm looking forward to working closely with Chair Hang, Vice Chair Simonko, and the board for another meaningful year. Thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 7, public comment. I believe we have one speaker in the house. Please welcome Mr. Josh Kerpies, on behalf of the Honorable Assemblyman Richard Bloom, West Hollywood.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, Josh Kirpies, District Director for Assemblymember Richard Bloom. I just wanted to come and say congratulations on behalf of the Assemblymember to all tonight's honorees, outstanding honorees as usual, selected by the board. And also to thank you for the work you do and to say what a great city we live in that takes the time and the resources to actually truly recognize Disability Awareness Month, and to recognize those in the community that give back and contribute to the rest of the community. I also wanted to, the Assembly member wanted me to give you an update on AB 598, hearing aids for children, that he had introduced earlier this year. I know some of you and many people in the community had written letters of support and made calls on behalf of that piece of legislation. Just to remind you that this piece of legislation in California, health insurance plans and policies are not required to cover hearing aids for children. As a result, most families on privately funded plans do not have coverage and are either forced to forego hearing aids for the child or pay the out-of-pocket costs for the hearing aids. A child's ability to hear should not be determined by their family's income, and AB 598 would have required insurance companies to cover children's hearing aids. That bill actually passed 40-0 in the Senate and then 79-0 in the Assembly. Was headed to the governor's desk, and unfortunately, Assemblymember Bloom had to pull that bill back because of concerns that had come up regarding lawsuits with the governor's office that he was very concerned with. So instead of putting him in a position where he potentially would have vetoed it, the governor, or the Assemblymember, because it's a 2-year cycle, voluntarily asked for that bill back so that we can continue working with the governor on that bill. And I'd like to read a statement, if I could, from Assemblymember Bloom on it, because he knows that this was a hard to understand decision. And it says, after conversations with the governor's office, I have decided to hold the bill in the Assembly to address some concerns raised by the governor's office. While this is not the intended outcome I had hoped for, I look forward to continued productive discussions with the governor over the next several months. Let me say how grateful I am to all those who traveled to the state capitol, wrote letters, and made phone calls to support AB 598. Your dedication was crucial to the progress we made with AB 598, but we know that work remains. I remain committed to continue to work on AB 598 and during the interim, and to continue to fight to ensure every child has access to hearing aids despite their family income. It is clear to me that the overwhelming support from parents, advocates, and legislators will help get this bill across the finish line. So we look forward to working with the governor's office and addressing those concerns, but please continue your support of the bill as you have done in the past. And again, thank you again, congratulations again to all the honorees. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kirpies. Moving on to item number 8, items from board members. The theme of today's meeting is Pride in Our Abilities, and we decided to dedicate this portion of the agenda to discuss what makes us proud. The pride we feel for our individual achievements, our collective work as appointed officials, or a feeling of pride for the city we live in and love, the city of West Hollywood. Why don't we do a round robin? The chair recognizes board member Doré.
Thank you, Chair. I take pride in our abilities because having an opportunity to be on this board and serve our wonderful city gives me immense pride. But not only that, but to be part of a community that is willing to be open and work with persons with disabilities to help make a better life. I'd like to brag just a minute about the things this marvelous board has done over the years. I've been so excited over the years with the things the board has done, celebrating the 25th anniversary of the ADA, working as with Special Olympics as fans in the stand, making impacts on special lives through these very awards. And on a personal note, my always ever-present quote, "The best prescription I've ever known is opportunity," and in my case, an opportunity to serve and serve with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Doré. The chair recognizes Board Member Watts.
Thank you, Chair. I'll keep my remarks brief, but a couple of things I did want to point out is that I have been asked on a number of occasions what the Disabilities Advisory Board does, and my answer has consistently been that we try to serve as a conduit between the city government and the various disabilities communities in feeding suggestions, comments, compliments, complaints up the food chain to city government, city council, as well as relaying information about programming and services back down to persons in need in those various disabilities communities. It should not be forgotten that West Hollywood is made up of more than just persons with disabilities, and there are advocates who do not have disabilities who continue to speak up on our behalf, and whether it is someone like the honorees from tonight, Catherine of Project Chicken Soup, and the Venny volunteers with her organization that continue to help keep body and soul together for people in this community for more than 30 years. And people like Stephanie Harker, who gave a comment earlier tonight, and who had spoken up so many times at council meetings and our board's meetings about upgrades that were needed to bring Hart Park up to ADA accessibility requirements. And now, thankfully, that has finally is now going to be accomplished. And I wanted to thank you, Stephanie, for that. Michael Arrigo, who also spoke, and who is a former board member here, who, in his many years, and through his own experiences with his own infirmities, has nonetheless used those infirmities as lessons in his own life and clarifications and inspirations to point out needs that need to be addressed so that persons with disabilities can give back, not just to better take care of persons with disabilities, but to enable persons with disabilities to make better use of their abilities to give back to the community. Because all persons, whether disabled or otherwise, taken together in the rainbow that is our fabric of West Hollywood and in this country, is what makes us all better persons. And we all have things to give back and to each other. I would be remiss if I didn't also again touch on Jim Chudd, who gave us all so much hope. Now, the red ribbon of hope that we're all so familiar with for AIDS, the pink ribbon, this being Breast Cancer Awareness Month, all of those things. We need to remember that we are all family. The right wing likes to talk about family values. Well, I think that the most important value that we can all remember is that we are all family. Thank you.
Board Member Friedman, would you like to share some words?
Good evening. I'm going to change this up a little bit. I'm going to brag about myself. I lost my arm at the age of 50 in 1994, and I'm very proud of the fact that I didn't let the loss of my arm or the cancer defeat me. It's true there are things I can't do anymore, like tie shoelaces or put my hair in a ponytail. I can't clap. And if you see me on the freeway, be very afraid. Okay. So the pride I have is in the fact that I have been able to recognize opportunities when they come along. And I think we all should. Somehow I think there's a higher power that puts them in our path, and we have a choice whether to act on them or pass on them. And I have found that every time I've acted on them, something good has really happened. For example, a month after I was in the hospital at USC, I was in a parking lot and I ran into a lady with one arm. And through that chance encounter, I found out that even though I'm a little short-handed, I could go back to school at 50, and I got my teaching credential, and I taught for 17 years, and I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud that Lauren Meister thought I was good enough to be on this board and suggested that I apply for it. I'm also very proud that I can still bake an apple pie from scratch, even the dough. So, I guess in essence what I'm saying is that I'm so grateful that I'm still living and that I'm still able to do things that I'm proud of. Thank you.
Board Member Freiberg, would you like to share some thoughts?
I just want to thank everyone tonight for joining us, and I want to say congratulations again to all the winners out there. We appreciate your service and efforts in helping those with disabilities. And I'd like to congratulate the City of West Hollywood for winning as the All-American City Award. And one of the reasons they won this award is because they engage with residents, especially those who are usually left out of decision-making, like people with disabilities, and they always ask for our opinion. They always welcome everything we have to say and our concerns. So we thank them for that. I'd like to give a special thanks to Joan, Derek, and Kim. They are always taking such good care of us, and you make us look good, and we thank you for that. So tonight's theme is pride in our abilities. Disability pride has been defined as accepting and honoring each person's uniqueness, and that it's just not another part, and it is just another part of human diversity. I think in the past, people didn't feel as accepted in society, whereas now you're seeing a growing number of ability pride parades, conventions, award ceremonies, just like we're having tonight, and it's happening all over the country, so that's great. But I feel like as more and more people show pride in their physical disability, those with mental illnesses are still very much hidden in the shadows, so to speak. And it seems like it's taking this country a really long time to make people feel comfortable speaking about their illnesses. Rosalind Carter started a mental health campaign when she became First Lady. Her goal was that she wanted people to be comfortable admitting that they had a mental health issue without fear of someone calling them crazy. And that was 42 years ago, and we're still, people don't want to talk about it. But 1 in 4 people will be affected by a mental or neurological disorder at some point in their lives, and because of the stigma, only 66% will seek help, and even though there's treatment available. Which leads me to letting you know about the vast amounts of mental health services, you're gonna like this, that's offered by the city, many of which are free and confidential. So if you need help, or if you know somebody that needs help, please do call City Hall. And you know how they say there's an app for that, for everything? Well, there's a free service for that in the City of West Hollywood. And I'd like to thank Mayor Pro Tem Lindsay Horvath for allowing me to serve on this board, as I find it an honor. And I really do enjoy working with all of you. I think all of us bring a uniqueness and unique contributions to this board, but we all seem to come together in the end because we all have the same goal. So I thank you all.
Board Member Smith?
Well, I want to thank all of the award winners for your service, and also our tremendous staff, because without you, we wouldn't be able to do any of this. And I just wanted to let the awardees know that without people like you helping advance the knowledge that people can do well with disabilities, it helps tremendously to make disabilities more acceptable in the mainstream. And in this country, I think we are blessed in that, having visited China and having to crawl around on my hands and knees to get into buses and crawling upstairs on my hands and knees. We really are blessed in this country with the ADA, and even before then. I am a post-polio survivor from 1952. I was 10 when I had this. And I've been a resident of the city of West Hollywood for 34 years. I moved up here because I was working at Cedars-Sinai, and I was commuting from Orange County. And that's why I moved into West Hollywood. And obviously, I'm retired, and I'm not moving out of West Hollywood. It's a tremendous little city. You know, we have AARP, Aging in Place. They have social services for people aging in their communities, some of which our community members don't know about. But if you just call the social service office, they can put you in touch or send you brochures with all the information. And like I said, I have had the pleasure of serving on this board, being appointed by Councilman Heilman at first, and then reappointing by Mayor D'Amico. And in 2017, I was appointed to the Los Angeles Commission on Disabilities and have been serving on that commission since then. I'm proud of my accomplishments. Sorry about my voice. I earned a bachelor's in science and medical technology, and also a master's in public administration. I've held a management position at Cedars-Sinai for 34 years, and managed the Division of Transfusion Medicine, which included blood collection, mobile blood program, stem cell processing, stem cell collection, bone marrow processing, the transfusion service, and immunohematology laboratory. I was responsible for the technical operations and administrative operations for 34 years. The educational programs there and the mentorship of the physicians I worked at allowed me to serve on international boards and also on national and state committees and boards. I've been able to publish in the Journal of Transfusion and also in the New England Journal of Medicine. And it's through really the people that I've encountered in my life that have enabled me to do these kind of things. And to have great parents who never told me that I couldn't do something. So those are the things I'm proud of. And I'm proud of everybody that I work with here. They all bring great things to our table. Thank you. Sorry about my voice.
Board Member Nash.
Thank you. On tonight's theme, I'm proud that I had the common sense to accept the invitation from the Actors Fund more than 20 years ago to move from San Francisco to the community of West Hollywood. I'm proud that once I got here, I had the courage to speak up, to step up to the microphone and let my voice be heard in areas that I thought needed more attention or situations that needed to be improved. And to my great pleasure, often I was heard and things were positively changed. So I want to encourage any of you residents to step up when you have an issue. You will be heard and issues will be addressed. On a personal note of accomplishments, I'm surprised that I've proved the old axiom wrong: you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I hadn't dabbled with any kind of art since finger painting in first grade.
But thanks again to the Actors Fund and the building that's so supportive I live in, they provided art class. And while I was recovering from 2 hip replacements and a broken foot, I decided to attend art class. And I've been shocked with the help of our teacher, Carol Goldman, and the supportive community that I live in. I've been able to make some pretty pictures. And I'm so proud that I brought a show and tell.
Cool.
And here's a sample of what I've been able to do in art class.
Beautiful.
So thank you so much for all the opportunities I've had in the city of West Hollywood to continue to grow and thrive. I thought the party was going to be over as I approached 50 and things would be on a slippery slope downhill, but instead they've gotten more interesting and more exciting. And thank you so much for allowing me to serve on the board, Lauren Meister. And thank you all for being here tonight, and especially thank you to our honorees who help me on almost a daily basis, just in so many ways that I'm grateful for. Thank you all.
Vice Chair Simonko.
I take great pride in being a disabled resident of West Hollywood. I was able to have a 22-year career with Westwood One, who initially hired me because of the ADA, because the ADA law offered a company tax exemption. Working, I was able to become a homeowner. Former council member Jeff Prang gave me my first opportunity to serve on the Disabilities Board. With the blessing of all the other members of council and other community members over the years, I was able to serve on the first MTA West Side Central Governance Council, the Vision 2020, and I hope to be alive for the 2050, and then the various design committees for the restructure of Santa Monica Boulevard, Plummer Park, and West Hollywood Park. The City of West Hollywood and the DEB have given me every opportunity for my abilities to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Simonko. Well, first, I'd like to thank the City of West Hollywood City Council, Mayor D'Amico, Mayor Pro Tem Horvath, Council members Duran, Heilman, and Meister for all of their unwavering support to help the Disabilities Advisory Board continue its work for the West Hollywood disabled community. I'd also like to thank our amazing staff, Joan Mithers, Derek Murray, and Kim Patterson, who all offer countless hours of patience, guidance, and resources to ensure that the DAB runs smoothly so that we can properly advise as well as carry out council directives. I'd also like to thank the many city staff and departments that have worked with the DAB to help us organize events to conduct outreach as well as address and resolve a multitude of constituent concerns among the West Hollywood disabled community. I'd like to personally congratulate and thank all of tonight's City of West Hollywood Disability Service Award honorees for their tireless efforts in helping to raise awareness about issues affecting people with disabilities, including ADA compliance, transportation, housing, access to city government, and services for people with disabilities, and more. Your activism and support are not only helping to educate our community as a whole, but also helping many voices in our community be heard that otherwise might not be. Finally, I'm very proud to work with, I want to thank all of my colleagues here, and I'm very proud to work with all of them, the members of the City of West Hollywood Disabilities Advisory Board. Vice Chair Simonko, board members Doré, Freiberg, Smith, Nash, Friedman, and Watts, for all of your demonstrated passion and hard work to help make the DAB's work this year a resounding success. Thank you for all of your time and effort in helping to bring awareness to issues affecting people with disabilities to the forefront. And it's been a pleasure serving on this board for 2 years, working with I'm learning from each and every one of you, and I'm hoping that I'm becoming a better person every day to work with you all to serve the community in a greater capacity. So it is my honor to sit here to work with you guys. You guys make this board. With that, thank you. We move on to item number 9. Everyone's been waiting for adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Great.
There's still refreshments out there, so people help yourselves.